All right, welcome back. And don't forget that the show is interactive. That WhatsApp line to send us messages, especially this segment, as we're going to be talking about mental health, is 0550585832. If you happen to be outside Ghana, kindly prefix the number +233. The hashtag is Breakfast Daily. And we've been joined by Dr. Achu Lartey. He's a medical doctor and also the CEO of Mind It GH, and we're going to be talking about how stressful life events affect your mental health and what you can do about it. Hi.
Hi.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Yeah, it's good to have you back here.
Thank you very much.
So talk to us. Mental health stresses. What are those stresses that can impact on us, negatively?
Thank you. Every individual experiences some form of stress, and at some point in one's life, at work, at home, everywhere, there are some stresses. And stresses are basically certain factors that impose some level of stress on you. But I guess there are points where those stresses can actually be maladaptive, can actually be inimical to one's health, and these actually affect people's mental health. Common stresses are usually unfortunate life events like losses, people losing loved ones, financial stress, and excessive work at work as well, and things that cause people to have a sense of poor self-esteem. So basically, stresses are things which can have some significant impact on people's lives.
And if you were to look at the COVID situation, how much will that exacerbate what we currently experience normally?
Okay. So the COVID situation had, I would say, far-reaching effects on a lot of people. So many people, that's people who were not living mental health disorders, and people who were living mental health disorders as well. It had far-reaching consequences, economical and social as well. Many people were losing their loved ones, and then there was some general fear about that's catching the disease and actually dying from it. So it's imposed a sense of fear and anxiety on many people. Many people were living with some form of stress and some form of anxiety as well. It made going out quite difficult for certain people. Economic hardships as well, the lockdowns, people had to stay at home. So there were ramifications of the COVID situations which by now would have lingered even to this point. So the COVID really exacerbated a lot of things as we are stressing people's lives.
So as human beings, I mean, by all means, these stresses would come. For instance, you lose a loved one, some pandemic could happen and all. But how do you, psych yourself? How do you start? Is there a way you can prep yourself just to be able to deal with these kind of situations? Should they surprise you?
Yes, so that's true. To a large extent, unfortunately, most stresses are unexpected. Yes, a chunk of stresses. So they become stressors to people because people are not able to cope with it. So one person might cope with it, might not be a stressor for another person. So once the stressor per se, most of them are actually unexpected. However, there are certain factors which influence how people can actually cope with stresses. Thus, they having some form of social support, they having some form of emotional intelligence to a large extent, and some other support from elsewhere. So their makeup, their personality also influences how they can cope with the stresses, in as much as some stresses can actually be sudden.
So, sorry, so for instance, maybe growing up, so I'm a mother, is there a way I can maybe be talking to my children? Is there a way I can be training them, to be able to deal with such stresses, as growing up with life? I mean, anything can happen. How do I go about things like that to prepare them for life?
So, and this is particularly important to imbibe in them a sense of whatever values you want to instill in them. Let's say resilience, affirming them, giving them daily affirmation with certain positive words and encouraging them. The very best place your child can get some support is from their home. So how do you train them? How do they see the world out there? When they come back to school with certain problems, or maybe somebody beats me, how do you interpret that to them? So giving them a lens through which they interpret life. Oh, mommy, I went to school, I got this wrong. How do you interpret that to them? Oh, don't worry, it's just a mistake. You get better, you just have to work harder. So the home training really matters, and then giving them a lens through which they see like their perspective, because that's how they would interpret things. That's how they've been socialized. So first of all, giving them a lens to read the interpret things the right way. It can be the wrong way, so which will be harmful to them. So giving them that perspective about life. Many children develop certain traits because of how they are brought up at home. Some go on to be timid because they hear words in the house like you're not good enough from their own parents. And then so if they go outside and somebody reiterates that, it becomes established in their life. So giving them a lens through which they see life is very important in their upbringing.
Somebody has had, let's say, a recent loss of a loved one. I hear something like divorce, for example, is almost akin to the loss of a loved one, and can be that devastating. What are the steps that one goes through to achieve wholeness after such a traumatic event?
Yes, so usually when people go through such traumatic events, they go through the grief process. There's a phase of denial where they tend to deny whatever happened. Okay, but it's usually a transition. At that particular point in time, they're actually quite vulnerable, and because they're going through a very difficult moment, they tend to accept whatever comes to them at that particular point. At that part is the best time for them to have all the support they can get. Having just someone sit with them and hold their hands is enough for them. Having someone reassure them that things will get better. Oh, I'm here for you. Things will get better. We are here to support you in this entire phase. That alone is enough for them. So their support is extremely important. Social support is one of the major coping strategies one can actually adopt. Having a very firm social support actually prevents one from developing some form of frank mental health disorder or psychological distress. So the social support really matters. Someone just wants to hear that, oh, I'm in this with you throughout, and that genuine care and concern really matters to the person.
Sometimes it's difficult to know what to say to someone who's lost a loved one. So I have a friend, I just heard that their mother passed on. My instinct is I should say something to them. I should call them and say something to them. Then I hold back because I'm saying, okay, so what am I going to say? You know, what words, because my nature is I want to fix things, you see. So what words do I say that solves the problem? What does one do? You know, what do I do?
To help such people. In such situation, it's good to identify with the person or empathize with the person. Empathy is a very strong it's a very strong precept. At that point, the person wants to be accepted. Okay, so I empathize with whatever you are going to, understand how very difficult it can be. So you have to show some empathy. That's the main thing. You have to show some empathy. Empathize with whatever the person is experiencing and assure the person about your support for the person. Yes, you don't have to go through with, oh, your mom was a good person. Just empathize and what you're going through and just show your kind of support. And depending on the kind of person, some people would like to be alone, or some people would just want to pour out their emotions. We should be able to more or less gauge that and know who the kind of person is. Sometimes you just have to sit with the person. Okay, I'll be in your house. I'm just sitting with you, help you with a couple of chores. But it depends on the person. But then you'd have to empathize with the person. Yes, and do the kind of person.
So if I am the one going through that, how do I deal with it, you know, so it doesn't become a mental disorder, so it doesn't translate into something else, you know?
Yes. And that's a very important question, because at that point, it's quite difficult for you to identify the kind of help that you need. Maybe you wouldn't be emotionally, maybe in the right mood. But then you basically have to be around people. You wouldn't have to isolate yourself at that point. Everybody identifies with someone with whom they can trust, a confidant to an extent, someone they trust, maybe a pastor, maybe a spiritual figure. At that point, that's the time to move to those people, the people you trust, your friends and your loved ones. That you move close to them and inform them about whatever you are going through. You wouldn't have to keep it to yourself. Just inform someone.
But you know, there are issues, for instance, like maybe divorce, you know, where our society is pretty much judgmental when it comes to issues like of relationship and marriage, especially when you are the woman. Because when the home does not stand, automatically the woman could not keep her home, you know.
That's true.
So you are going to talk to your pastor. The next minute, you are the topic for preaching. You are going to talk to your colleagues. The next minute, you are the conversation during lunchtime.
Yeah.
You are going to talk to family. They turn back and tell you that, so they empathize with you for the moment, but at the point you hear things like, you cry when you went to what happened? You couldn't even keep your home.
Yeah.
In such a situation, who can you trust? Who do you talk to? Because the environment is that hostile. The society is judgmental, and people are dying within them.
Extremely. So at that particular point, like you said, if you have someone you can't really trust in that information, then you have to seek some professional help. Yes, you can just walk to a hospital and ask to see a psychologist. Most mental health facilities offer walk-in services, even if they are even tertiary. You just can actually walk in. I say, I want to see a psychologist and just talk with the person. They are trained to actually listen to you. They can give you talk therapy. Just talk to them throughout. So at that point, if you don't have anybody who is non-judgmental or objective, you can just go to a professional, walk in and I just want to talk. I want to talk.
Can you take medicine? Can you know, sometimes when people are in certain, so for instance, you hear that you've lost a loved one.
Yes.
Is it the best to take alcohol? Is it the best to take some kind of medication, you know, to kill your pain, at least at that moment, and then figure out what you want to do later on?
No, it's not advisable. Any medication would have to be prescribed by a medical practitioner. So the medical practitioner will decide whether you need medication or not, especially in the case where somebody becomes suicidal as a result of that. Alcohol is actually maladaptive. You can get hooked onto it, you get addicted into it, and then can actually lead to some mental health disorders. So alcohol wouldn't be the best way to go. Yes.
So if you hear your family member is dead, don't go
and
chance to kill your pain.
Yes.
Yeah, I got that.
Exactly.
So just a final question before you leave us. Children,
Yes.
very vulnerable in this world. The world is becoming more crazy and more chaotic and more difficult to bring up children in.
Exactly.
Are there maybe 2-3 things that we can look at to say how to bulletproof the minds of your children?
Sure. I understand that's quite a challenging situation because they go out, they spend a lot of time at school. You can't really ascertain the information that they imbibe. However, giving them that framework from the home is extremely important. And having that bond, the best thing you can do for a child is to be your child's best friend, where he or she tells you every single thing that happens in this life. Children like to talk. So giving them that perspective and making them understand that you are their best friend, you can tell them every single thing. Their failures, no matter whatever bad things they do. Because if they don't tell you, you wouldn't know. Yes, you can't help. So keep a very open environment at home. Make them understand that you are there for them, you are their best friend. They can confide with you as regards to every single thing. And then you have to educate them on certain things they should look out for, certain things they should avoid, certain traits. Okay, let's say if you go to school and maybe somebody touches you this way, come and report to me. Don't allow anybody to say this and that and that to you. So giving them that framework, that mental framework from the house is extremely important. Informing them about who they are, because that will really influence how they see life eventually. So giving them that framework at the start is extremely important. And keeping a very open environment at home is also important as well.
Ghana is a very difficult place for you to do this because the culture itself, you know, first of all, suppresses children.
That's true.
Shut up, don't talk. In fact, even when I've asked you the question, and
Still
you're about
don't talk.
are you talking? You asked me a
But why did
question,
you do
I'm
this?
answering
Yeah,
the question.
sure.
Are you still talking?
I know, but I think that is changing a little bit. You understand? Because you and I now know better than how you know our parents brought us up. You know,
that's true.
At this point, so sometimes I tease my parents. You know, my dad is a bit okay with that, but my mom has a problem. You know, she asked a question, you explain it, said you have the answer to everything. You ask questions about everything. You know, I'm prepared for you. So I think that we can be managing it a little bit now.
Things are changing now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
How do people get in touch with you?
Okay, so we have a toll-free short code, *844 *555# *844 *555#. It's toll-free on all networks across the country. You call us, we help you. We provide actually free psychotherapy services as well. Free talk sessions. And then we can facilitate a consultation for you at the nearest mental health facility.
Okay. Do you have activities people can follow on social media?
Yes, we have pages on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. At Mind.gh. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Achu Lartey. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been exciting and
Welcome.
insightful. Thank you. We're going to take a short break. Don't go anywhere. Be right back.